Welcome back to the farm, everyone. Today we're going to show you the 3 secrets to setting up the perfect seed starting area in your house or shed. As always, if you find this information useful, please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. We're close to 1,000 subscribers. And any of the equipment that you see, you can find in the link below in the description in our Amazon store. Let's get to it. All right, let's first talk about the location. Obviously, you're going to need electricity, so you can plug in the lights. You're going to want a floor that can get some water on it, concrete, vinyl, something along those lines. And then wire racks work the best. We want airflow around the plants. And so with the opening in the base underneath each plant, the air can move around and it'll help prevent disease. Let's talk about lights, because if you don't get this right, none of the rest of the stuff we're going to talk about matters. Regular indoor lights obviously won't work. I would recommend that you use LED white lights. You can use regular fluorescents, but it's more expensive, I found. The LEDs also will help you when we start to deal with temperature, because they do not produce as much heat. And I've noticed they come in 2 different versions. There's an 80 watt and a 40 watt. And I would recommend doing the 80 watt. It just gives you more flexibility, especially when we get into where the plants need to be in relationship to the lights. You'll notice that I have 2 sets of lights above each plant. That is not necessary. It just offers me some flexibility in this setup that I have, and we'll go into that in a second. All right, let's go into a couple little tricks. One, you'll notice I have some reflective material on the back wall. A white wall will work too, but what you don't want is something dark, like a dark painted wall inside your house or plywood in the garage. You want to be able to reflect that light back. Now, you do not need to have 2 lights. 1 light will work, but when you're dealing with 1 light, you are going to have to adjust where the plant height is in relationship to the light. Generally, it's somewhere between 4 to 6 inches. And you may notice with 1 light that your outside plants don't grow as fast as the ones in the center that are directly underneath the light. So keep that in mind. The 80 watt strength lights will help with that, because it just has more power in the spectrum to spread it over a larger area. But because we do a lot of flowers in the spring that need sunlight to germinate, we've doubled up the lights so that we don't have to worry about it. The other thing, if you do double up the lights, then I have found you do not need to adjust the height of the plants. Between the reflection on the back, the lights that are doubled up, I can keep these about 8 to 12 inches away, and I never need to adjust the plants. One last thing, this particular brand is Sunco. I've had them for a couple of years. They're not a sponsor. We don't get paid by them. But again, the cost was no different than building your own, and doing the math at a 50,000 hour guarantee, growing 150 days a year at 14 hours a day, it worked out to be 21 or 22 years that they would last me. And I don't know that I will make it that long. So for me, it was easier just to buy the pre-made ones and stick them up. Last 2 things on the light, we run ours for 14 hours a day. And there's just a cheap little mechanical timer that they're all strung into. And so the lights are all automatic. The timer takes care of it, turns them on and off, and I don't have to deal with it. All right, the next thing to get into is temperature, and there's 2 parts to this. There's going to be the temperature we need to germinate the seed, and then there's going to be the temperature we need to grow the seed after it's already sprouted. So let's deal with the first one. If you are growing in your house and you're growing warmer plants, tomatoes, peppers, summer flowers, that kind of stuff, then you're probably not going to need a whole lot of extra equipment. If you're growing in a basement or an outside tool shed, and you're growing those warmer crops or flowers, you're going to need some extra tools. So let's look at 3 parts to this. 1, the light itself does generate a little bit of heat. So I'm going to recommend that you get yourself just a little laser temperature gun. You can hit this right on the soil of the plant, and it will tell you what the temperature is. That way it'll give you an idea of what you need to do, because the temperature that's in the room, this right here says 70, and the temperature in the dirt says 73. So I'm getting a couple of degrees of heat off the lights onto the plants. The next step is to use a humidity dome to cover the tray. This will also trap moisture in, so it'll help with germination. And it'll also trap heat in. So again, I would recommend that when you put this on, let a couple hours go by, come back, take it off and hit the soil with your gun and just make sure that the temperature is not getting out of control. It will depend on what you're growing. So like tomatoes and peppers, they can handle up to 85 degrees. Some other crops need to be in the lower 70s. It just depends. You'll have to look on your seed packet. And then if you're growing in a shed or out in the garage where it's colder, you live in a colder part of the country, then you're going to want a heat mat. So you can put this underneath your tray and plug it in. It'll generate heat from the bottom and warm the whole thing up. Again, I would use the temperature gun to check on it. And if you're new and you don't know how all of this is going to play together in the room that you're growing in, they do make these with a thermostat on them. So you could set it to a temperature and it's easy to control, especially if you're growing plants and you have another job. You can't go and check them all the time during the day. So the thermostat is going to help you out immensely. All right, the second part to the temperature is once you have about 50% of your seeds sprouted on your tray, you're going to want to remove this dome. The more humidity that stays on the soil for a long period of time can promote algae growth. And once your seeds start to sprout, the higher temperatures aren't the best for them. Again, this is just a generic rule of thumb, but usually somewhere between 65 to 75 degrees is kind of the sweet spot. And then I do recommend thermostat somewhere in the room so you can kind of keep track of the temperature and the humidity in the room. All right, remember you're going to want to keep your plants 2 to 4 inches away from the lights unless you're going to double up your lights. Make sure you get 80 watt or the stronger lights to give you more flexibility so you have some leeway in that space. Make sure the back of your area is reflective so it bounces that light back, helps your plants out. Use the humidity dome to get the seeds to sprout. Heating mat if you need it in a cold area. Get that heating dome off as soon as you can once they start to sprout, and then get the airflow going to help dry out the top of the soil. I know this seems like a lot of equipment, but it usually pays for itself its first year. Let us know in the comments what you're going to grow this year. And remember, live life in full bloom.